Hello everyone and welcome. If you are new here, my name is Leaners and today I am going to show you 9 lovely Alocasia that I got on Etsy for under 20 bucks. Now I am not rich, and like a lot of people, I live on a set or limited income, and just spending a whole pile of money on one plant is not my thing. But you got to be careful. You got to be careful because if the price looks too low, you know, it may not be legit. So research before you buy. But I just kind of wait, you know, like the weather in the Pacific Northwest. If you don't like it, wait an hour. Well, if you don't like the price of a plant, just wait. Wait and watch. So let's get right to it. My favorite in this lineup is this gorgeous Mycorrhiza. I mean, people, look at that leaf. Do you see that? This plant is just gorgeous. You know what I paid for that on Etsy? $13. 4 weeks ago, it was just a little starter. It just had these little tiny leaves, 3 little tiny leaves, and now it's giving me gorgeous half moon that are sizing up beautifully. So that is Alocasia Mycorrhiza Variegated on Etsy, $13. Next is a real popular one. This is the Friedeck, 1997. Now I have since training her. I train all of them to a wick so that they don't crisp up from that. Too much fluid though, and they'll burst cells and they'll crisp up. But you see, she's got roots. This pot is half leca, and I waited till she started sending roots into the leca before I started filling the reservoir. So I put the wick on, but I top watered her till she trained to reach down into the reservoir. But look at these beautiful leaves. 1997. And I got her a while back. She's been slow to grow, but she was way tinier. And you can see here she's got a new leaf point coming out. So, and this pot, I bought just 2 vases at Dollar Tree and soldered holes. And then I put a little yogurt cup, and I had to put holes in it to release the air, and that's the spacer, and there we go, a self-watering planter. Just be creative. So the next one on this list is my Batik. It's looking a little yellow, but it's got a leaf that is showing some cream here. But this was just a couple of tiny leaves 4 weeks ago. This plant has been pumping out the leaves and sizing up since I got it trained to a reservoir. And again, Dollar Tree, just drinking cups, soldered some holes, made a little spacer down below to create a reservoir. You can see she's already got roots coming out, so that wick won't even be needed. This plant is training itself to drink straight from the reservoir. I got one in the other room that's 3 feet tall and just getting gigantic, and it literally has a 6 by 4 inch brick of roots in the reservoir, and every 3 days I fill that thing, and it's just drinking it up and growing by leaps and bounds. So this plant, I think was, let me look at my little notes here. This Batik cost me $11. Okay, and then we go to the next plant. This is a beautiful yellow Gagiana, which is it's a Gagiana. The Batik is an Adora. And you see this gorgeous lime variegated leaf I got from this and that leaf. So this again came as a starter with just 2 baby leaves 4 weeks ago, and already it's sized up to this. Now here's another one that we all dream of, the Pink Bambino. Now this was a tissue culture. I've got them trained to a root now. They spent 6 weeks in their little enclosed cocoons. I put them in sphagnum moss for 6 weeks and sealed the cup, and then weaned them out of there by soldering holes, and now they're still living in the tent, and I do not water them till that wick is dry. And I barely give them 1/8 of an inch. That's it. Barely, or you will implode these things. Now, some of them have some green. As you can see, there's a little bit of green going on here, but it's not a lot. we're mostly getting, mostly getting these pink leaves. So I'm really hoping that that changes. Now, I paid $29.98 for the 3 plants. They came together in a vial as a tissue culture full of agar. The reason I got them at a discount so low is because they've been sitting in the agar for too long, and that causes them to darn near variegate to solid white or pink. So I don't know if they're going to survive, but I paid less than $10 a plant because I separated them when they came out immediately. I didn't want the roots growing together. But I may get a beautiful plant out of this. You know, this one I think, well, this little guy seems to have the most chlorophyll, as you can see. So if you do the math, even though I paid $29.98 for the group, it comes out to about $10 a plant. And the shipping was low. And by the way, this was from a local grower who grows these in Washington, in my neighborhood, and her name is Plants Fix. Plants with an S and F-I-X. And she's on Etsy. Okay, this next one is an Alocasia, California, Albo Variegata. Let me get under the light so you could see it better. Is that leaf gorgeous or what? And this one I'm keeping in my cabinet just till it gets a little bigger. And again, what I do is I check the wicks. And this wick's still damp, and I will barely give it 1/8 of an inch of water, just enough to wet its whistle. Now this plant, and your albos are a lot slower growing than all your other colors because they don't have as much chlorophyll to make energy. She was, let me see if I can hold the camera, she was $16. So yeah, this is a gorgeous plant. And by the way, California is just a Gagiana. So it's a Gagiana Albo Variegata. And this is a Gagiana Aurea Variegata. I may have said Albo earlier, my correction, not sure. I'll have to look at the footage. Okay, now the last 3 plants here were sold to me as Alocasia. And I kept telling my husband, I said, something's not right. These are not Alocasia. And I thought, well, maybe I'm just judging an immature plant because they were little tiny starters in a tube. I mean, I'm talking in a little itty-bitty tube. And I got them back in September, October, and they're just taken off. And this is famously known as Mickey Mouse. And I looked it up, and sure enough, it is a Xanthosoma. And it is not an Alocasia, but it was called Alocasia, Caladia, Colocasia. It has been sold under every name, and I noticed that the website that I got it on is now listing it as a Xanthosoma. They probably got a lot of pushback from people. But this plant, I paid for my Mickey Mouse $17. It kind of gives me that Alocasia vibe. So it's under 20 bucks for a gorgeous, gorgeous plant. See, it's cute little, that's the mouse nose. And then they fade down to a cream, and then eventually to a white. And typical of a lot of these bulb, because it's not a rhizome, it's a bulb, they crisp if they get too dry. They do not like to go below 65 humidity. And I accidentally left my fan on overnight and it dropped it to 50, and this is what the emerging leaf did. And this emerging leaf crisped up. But, you know, the newest one right here is fine because we're now back to 66% humidity, which my room sits between 65-66%. My cabinet sits at just below 80. So anyway, this is known as Alocasia Hilo Beauty, but it is not. It is a caladium. Nevertheless, I do not regret buying it. I'm not resentful. I'm very happy. It's giving me that Alocasia vibe, but it's very paper thin and a little more delicate and does require a little bit higher humidity. Everything here is on wicks, by the way, but I had to slowly train them to it. So it's caladium Hilo Beauty. It is a species, and I found some information on it. I found that it is a praetermissum. A Caladia praetermissum. Praetermissum is its species, and it is an actual species. It's not a hybrid or a cultivar. So there you go. Hello Beauty, Caladium praetermissum. And I paid for this pretty thing $13. What a deal for a gorgeous leaf like that. And then here's another one. Now, what's interesting to me is this was misrepresented when I bought it. This is not, this one's going to get you. It's not a caladium. It is not a colocasia. It is not an alocasia. It is, oh, nope, nope. It is Colocasia esculata, also known as Milky Way. It is a colocasia, correct me. Doing research on 3 plants has fried my brains. Okay, when we had that drop in humidity, here's what happened to this leaf. See? And someone might say, no, that's edema. Yeah, they do get edema if it goes too high, but this plant actually prefers it high. I can throw it in the cabinet at 80 humidity, and it doesn't crisp up at all. This happens every time it goes below 60%. It starts crisping on the leaves, and I've kept it up since this new leaf came out. I had a little bit of a drop the other day, ran in here and fixed it. We're going to come up with a better way of regulating the humidity, but it's doing much better. Okay, so here's the story behind this. You might think, oh, the greenhouse sent me the wrong plant. Well, here's the deal. When I got it, I was suspicious right out of the gate. So I thought, you know, maybe it's just an immature plant. So I went and ordered this thing. Let me push you back. I went and ordered it from a whole different greenhouse. And I got sent the exact same thing again. And it really, where is it? It's not doing so good. I got it in the cabinet. It's not dying, it just got crispier, but it's doing fine now. Anyway, both vendors mailed me the same stinking plant. The odds of them both making a mistake are just way too slim. I think the tissue culture lab made a mistake because my husband and I watched a video and they show that these greenhouses literally are corralled around a tissue lab in the center. And don't knock tissue labs because none of these plants would be available under $1,000 to any of us if it weren't for tissue culture. I think the tissue culture lab sent the wrong plants because they don't have bulbs when they come out of tissue culture. They develop that later on as they mature. And so I think the mistake was not on the part of the greenhouse, although I am going to contact them and say, hey, listen, you sent me the wrong plant. I went and looked up buying this plant. I think I paid $11 for it. Let me see. 13. I can't find this plant for under $50 right now. I'm not joking. So I'm going to get a hold of them and I am going to wait. Like I recommended to you, I am going to wait till this plant is under $20. And then I will buy it. Well, not this one, but Okinawa Silver. Because that's what it was sold to me as. And then I will click buy. And I will even send them a message and say, is it the real one this time? And I'm going to see if they will give me a refund to pay for the real plant. Because it is the wrong plant. Just totally. Although I'm excited to watch it grow. It has beautiful variegation. The other one has even more. And as they mature, they get just gorgeous. And it does get, I don't know if you can see that. Let me get it up in the light. Look at the elbow striping in its stems. It's just beautiful. And as these mature, they start to look a little bit like an Adora. But it is not an Adora. It is a Colocasia esculata. Yep, okay. I'm having to relearn. My brain has been calling it an Alocasia all this time. So it's not an Okinawa Silver Alocasia Adora. It is a Colocasia esculata, aka Milky Way. Nonetheless, beautiful, and I got it for $13. I don't know if you'd find one of these for $13, but that's what I paid for this. So I got this whole beautiful group for under $20 a plant. And I'm seeing more and more stuff pop up every day. But really, I'm kind of waiting until Valentine's Day. That's when I notice things start coming out fresh with 2025 stock and inventory. So I've got a few things on my wish list. I've got some albo and other genuses that I will be doing videos on. And before I end this and wish you all a great day, yes, Leaners is my name. It was a name I was tagged with at about the age of 3. It wasn't exactly that in the beginning, but it morphed into that by 9 loving siblings. And then when I became a clean freak, it got kind of morphed into cleaners, and luckily that only stuck with a few. So yeah, when I see my older brother, I get, hey, cleaners. But no, my gravestone when I die will say, here lies Leaners. So yes, that is what I prefer to be called. It's what I've been called most of my life. And again, you all have a lovely day, and thanks for watching my video.